Welcome back the bustling world of coin collectors and numismatists. The year 2001 holds a unique charm. Among the many coins minted that year, the one-dime coin, seemingly ordinary at first glance, carries a tale rich in history, value, and a series of events that have turned it into an icon among rare coin hunters. This is the story of a coin that defied expectations, a small 10-cent piece that has found itself worth far more than its original face value, climbing the ladders of million-dollar conversations. Not every coin minted in 2001 is special, but there are versions, varieties, and conditions that have made some of these dimes stand out like sparkling gems in the sand. The year 2001 was a pivotal time in American history. It was the beginning of a new millennium, a time when technology, economy, and global events began shifting the world's direction. Within the U.S. Mint, production continued steadily with millions of coins being struck daily to meet the needs of commerce. Among these were the Roosevelt dimes, small, silver-colored coins that had been circulating in one form or another since 1946. The 2001 dimes were struck in two primary locations, Philadelphia and Denver, each bearing the familiar mint marks P and D. Though they were created for everyday use, some of these coins were destined for something greater, catching the attention of collectors due to their exceptional qualities or mysterious anomalies. The story of the 2001 dime begins in simplicity but quickly takes a twist that changes everything. While most of the dimes slipped quietly into circulation, passed from hand to hand, resting in pockets, or falling forgotten into jars, a few rare specimens took a different path. These were the dimes that, whether due to striking errors, rare compositions, or pristine uncirculated conditions, began to attract whispers in coin shows and forums. Over time, those whispers grew louder, and collectors started paying attention. Stories began emerging of a 2001 dime that fetched over $1 million at an exclusive auction. What could make a dime worth that much? The answer lies in the interplay of rarity, condition, and a little bit of mystery. One of the most intriguing aspects of these valuable 2001 dimes is the possibility of transitional errors. Occasionally, during the switch from one coinage composition to another, old blanks or dies might accidentally be used. A coin struck on a different metal, or with an older die that was never meant to be used again, could escape the mint and end up in circulation. These coins, often identified only by sharp-eyed collectors, can become numismatic treasures. In the case of the 2001 dime, rumors swirled around a small batch struck on silver planchets, a composition no longer standard since the mid-1960s. Whether these stories are fact or legend, they continue to drive the excitement surrounding this year's coin, but errors aren't the only reason some 2001 dimes have become famous. Sometimes, a coin's value is elevated purely by its condition and the context in which it survives. A 2001 dime preserved in a pristine state, never touched by human hands, with no signs of wear, scratches, or bag marks, can command extraordinary prices. These coins are often found in special mint sets or proof sets, packaged for collectors and stored carefully over the years. When a dime in this condition is submitted to a grading service and comes back with a perfect MS 70 or PR 70 grade, it becomes a unicorn in the world of dimes, rare, beautiful, and immensely desirable. Over time, the legend of the $1 million 2001 dime continued to evolve. Coin enthusiasts began to search through their collections and spare change with renewed energy. Dealers and experts studied the coin under microscopes, seeking die varieties, doubled dies, or repunched mint marks that might indicate a special strike. In at least one confirmed case, a 2001 dime with an unusual die clash error fetched an eye-watering price at a private auction, reportedly over $1 million. The buyer, a private collector with a deep passion for American coinage, believed it to be one of a kind. The story made headlines in numismatic circles, adding fuel to the fire of 2001 dime fever. To understand the allure of such a coin, one must consider the emotional and historical weight it carries. It's not just metal and numbers, it's a physical piece of American history. The year 2001 marked moments of transformation, resilience, and change. A coin from that year, especially one in exceptional condition or with a mysterious background, becomes more than currency. It becomes a symbol, a snapshot of a moment frozen in time. And for collectors, that makes all the difference. The rise in value of the 2001 dime has also been influenced by the stories shared by those who discovered them. One such tale comes from a retiree in Ohio, who was sorting through her late husband's old coin jars. Amidst the pennies and nickels, she spotted a shiny dime with a date that seemed unusually crisp. Upon closer inspection, and after a visit to a local coin dealer, she learned it was one of the high-grade 2001 dimes rumored to be rare. After authentication and grading, the coin was auctioned and sold for nearly $1.2 million. Her story spread across news outlets, inspiring a new generation of coin hunters. Social media and YouTube channels began picking up on the craze. Videos showcasing the dime, comparisons with standard issues, and how-to guides on identifying rare varieties became viral content. Viewers from around the world began examining their change more closely. TikTok trends even popped up where users shared their dime hunts, hoping to strike silver, or gold, in a forgotten coin jar. The modern age of digital storytelling gave the 2001 dime a whole new platform, bringing together veteran collectors and curious newcomers alike. Collectors who specialize in Roosevelt dimes have long appreciated the nuances between different mintages, but the 2001 edition introduced a fresh level of enthusiasm. Auction houses reported increased inquiries, and grading companies saw spikes in submissions for dimes from that year. As more coins were examined, new varieties and anomalies were discovered. Some featured die cracks, others had off-center strikes or slight misalignments that added character and uniqueness. Each discovery contributed to the growing mythology of the 2001 dime. Interestingly, some of the most valuable 2001 dimes were never meant to be released at all. Mistaken releases from mint trial strikes or test runs, coins not intended for public circulation, occasionally found their way into the hands of employees or collectors through unknown channels. These coins, sometimes referred to as mint errors or test strikes, possess an almost mythical status due to their scarcity. When such a coin surfaces, it often sends shockwaves through the numismatic community, sparking bidding wars and headlines. One of the most compelling elements of this coin's rise in fame is its relatability. Unlike ancient coins buried for centuries or gold pieces locked away in bank vaults, the 2001 dime is a modern, accessible coin. It reminds collectors that treasure doesn't always have to be rare in age or size. Sometimes, it's the ordinary coin that becomes extraordinary, simply by surviving in the right way, or by being born in the right batch, under the right conditions. This phenomenon also reflects a deeper human instinct, the hope that something small and overlooked might hold hidden greatness. It's the reason people love stories of underdogs and lost treasures. The 2001 dime fits into that narrative perfectly. A coin most people would ignore or spend without a second glance could, in rare cases, hold a secret fortune. This idea resonates not just with collectors, but with anyone who has ever hoped for a lucky break. In the end, the true magic of the 2001 dime lies not just in its metal or monetary value, but in its story. A story that spans from busy mint floors to quiet living rooms where old change is sorted. A story that connects the past and present, blending history, economics, craftsmanship, and mystery. For those who hold one of these prized dimes, the value isn't only in the dollars it might bring, but in the journey it represents, a journey that continues to inspire and excite collectors around the world. As the years pass and the legend grows, more people will search, more dimes will be examined, and perhaps more million-dollar discoveries will be made. But whether or not another 2001 dime reaches such lofty heights, the fascination surrounding it ensures that this humble 10-cent piece has secured its place in numismatic lore forever. From pocket change to prized possession, the 2001 dime proves that even the smallest things can hold the greatest value. Next, 1998, nestled quietly among the coins in Americans' pockets, purses, and piggy banks, was a humble dime, just 10 cents in value. Or so it seemed. Over time, This unassuming piece of metal would rise to unimaginable fame, whispered about in collector circles, sought after in auctions, and ultimately becoming a legend in numismatic history. This is the story of the 1998 one-dime coin, a journey of metal turned marvel, and how it came to be associated with a staggering $98 million face value in the lore of coin collecting. The story doesn't begin with fireworks. It begins with routine, production lines at the United States Mint, presses stamping out Roosevelt dimes by the thousands, quality checks, packaging, and shipping to Federal Reserve banks. The 1998 dime was no different at the start. It bore the familiar face of Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse, honoring the 32nd President of the United States, and the torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse, representing liberty, peace, and strength. It was minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, with the Philadelphia and Denver coins circulating widely, while the San Francisco dimes were intended for proof sets, but among these millions of dimes, stories started to emerge. Whispers of a rare variation, of minting errors, of unexpected values. At first, only sharp-eyed collectors noticed. A dime with a peculiar luster. Another with slightly misaligned text. One missing a mint mark. These differences were subtle, unseen by most, but clear as daylight to those trained to spot the extraordinary in the ordinary. Rumors circulated that a batch of 1998 dimes had been struck on experimental planchets, blanks intended for foreign coinage or for other denominations. Their weight was ever so slightly different. Their tone, almost musical. Their color, just a shade off the standard issue. Collectors began paying attention. Coin conventions buzzed with theories. Was it a transitional error? A rogue batch? A clandestine test run by the mint? No one could say for sure, but what was certain was this: the 1998 dime had transformed from a routine coin into a phenomenon. One particular coin surfaced in 2005, drawing global attention. It appeared at an estate sale in Pennsylvania, tucked inside an envelope marked only with the words, "Special Dime." The family selling the estate knew nothing of its significance. But a local dealer recognized its potential and snapped it up for a few $100s. That same dime would later sell at a major auction house for an astonishing $1.2 million. It had a full strike, mirror-like surfaces, and a curious absence of the expected mint mark. Most significantly, metallurgical analysis revealed that it was composed of a unique alloy not used in standard U.S. dimes. Theories exploded overnight. Was it a mistake? A rogue test? Or something more? The legend grew. More examples trickled in, each slightly different, yet carrying the same aura of mystery. A coin with a double die obverse. Another with proof-like qualities despite being found in circulation. One with partial collar errors that suggested a rushed or unauthorized production process. By 2010, the 1998 dime had established a mythology all its own. The most curious aspect? A growing consensus that a finite number, perhaps only 98 such dimes, existed, each potentially tied to a specific trial run. That number took on symbolic meaning, and soon the phrase, $98 million face value, began to circulate among collectors, more poetic than literal. It was never about the denomination anymore. It was about the perceived collective worth, the rarity, the intrigue, the chase. Collectors around the world began a modern treasure hunt. Coin shops were flooded with dimes from people hoping to cash in. Stories emerged of a man in Ohio who found a rare 1998 dime in a jar of change inherited from his grandfather and sold it to a collector in Tokyo for $850,000. A school teacher in Arizona stumbled upon one at a flea market and used the proceeds of its sale to retire early and travel the world. The media caught wind, and soon, the 1998 dime was not just a numismatic curiosity, it was a pop culture icon. The U.S. Mint, initially silent, issued a brief statement in 2013 acknowledging the existence of experimental variations during the late 1990s but offered no specific details. This cryptic acknowledgement only fueled speculation. Books were written, documentaries aired, and forums debated every micron of the known rare dimes. Experts began classifying them into subtypes: the ghost mint mark, the platinum hue, the featherlight strike, each with its own unique traits and lore. And prices climbed accordingly. As with any legend, the line between fact and folklore blurred. Some claimed the dimes were linked to a secret project to test biometric coin tracing. Others said they were part of a diplomatic gift set never meant for circulation. A few speculated that they were made using leftover blanks from an abandoned international coinage contract. Whatever the truth, the excitement surrounding the 1998 dime refused to fade. By the early 2020s, the coins had taken on an almost mythical status. Coin shows dedicated special exhibits to them. Collectors formed exclusive clubs for those lucky enough to own one. One particularly extravagant buyer created a custom safe with a rotating glass display and LED lighting just to showcase his 1998 dime. Another donated his to the Smithsonian, stating that, "This coin belongs to the people, it's a part of American mystery and imagination." The market, fueled by rarity and romance, reached unprecedented heights. In 2023, a pristine example sold for a record-setting $9.8 million to a tech billionaire in Silicon Valley. The deal included an NFT companion certificate and a 24-karat gold encasement designed by a renowned digital artist. Critics scoffed. Purists sighed. But the truth was clear: the 1998 dime had become the face of a new era in collectible culture, where nostalgia, mystery, rarity, and digital flair collided. Today, the 1998 one-dime coin exists in a space somewhere between reality and legend. Most of the 1.6 billion dimes produced that year remain in circulation or tucked away in jars, still worth 10 cents. But a select few, less than 100 by most estimates, are priceless. Their true value is not just in metal or minting. It's in the stories they carry, the wonder they spark, and the journeys they inspire. No one can say when the next of these rare dimes will surface. Perhaps in a forgotten drawer. Perhaps at a garage sale. Or perhaps it's already in someone's pocket, waiting for the right pair of eyes to recognize it. Until then, the legend of the 1998 dime lives on, not just as a collector's dream but as a symbol of how even the smallest things can hold immeasurable value. What makes the story even more enduring is how it inspires people to look more closely at the everyday, to believe that treasures can be hidden in plain sight, disguised as the most common of things. And perhaps that's why, even decades later, the tale of the 1998 dime continues to sparkle, reminding us all that history, mystery, and fortune can fit into the smallest of circles. Next, 2016. Deep within the heart of the United States Mint, a simple yet mysterious coin emerged, a humble one-dime coin bearing the date 2016. At first glance, it was indistinguishable from the millions of other dimes produced that year. It shone with the same silver sheen, bore the same familiar portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse, and on the reverse, displayed the iconic torch flanked by olive and oak branches. Yet somewhere along the way, one of these coins took a different path, becoming an icon, a subject of obsession among collectors and fortune seekers. Whispers began circulating in coin collector communities, in online forums and hushed conversations at coin shows. Someone had found a 2016 dime worth far more than 10 cents, some even claimed its value reached $16 million. To understand how such a transformation could occur, one must delve into the layered history of the American dime. Since its introduction in 1796, the 10-cent piece has undergone several redesigns, each reflecting the values and artistic sentiments of its time. The Roosevelt dime, introduced in 1946 following the death of the beloved president, was meant to commemorate his leadership during World War II and his personal battle with polio. It quickly became a staple of American currency. Decades passed, and while the design remained largely unchanged, the stories associated with these coins evolved, as did the technology and conditions of minting. By 2016, the U.S. Mint was producing dimes with precision and speed, striking hundreds of millions across its various facilities, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Among these was a coin minted under what appeared to be routine conditions. But as legend has it, one specific coin, perhaps even a small handful, was the result of a rare anomaly that combined a perfect storm of rarity, error, and mystery. The story first gained traction when a collector in California stumbled upon a dime that looked off, barely perceptibly. The coin seemed thicker than usual and had an unusual luster, a slight iridescence not seen in standard circulation. When he took it to an expert for evaluation, the reaction was immediate and intense. The expert noted that the coin appeared to have a double die obverse, a rare error in which the coin is struck more than once, creating a faint but visible doubling of the features, most noticeably in Roosevelt's eye and the word liberty. That alone would have been enough to classify it as an error coin, but further examination revealed something even more astonishing. This dime, for reasons still debated today, appeared to be struck not on a standard copper-nickel-clad dime planchet but on a planchet meant for a completely different denomination, possibly even a foreign coin. The weight was off by a fraction, and the edges were not reeded in the traditional way. Microscopic analysis showed subtle variations in the composition, suggesting that something had gone very wrong, or very right, during its minting. Speculation arose about whether it had been an intentional test strike, a clandestine creation by a mint employee, or a completely accidental marvel. Before long, rumors about this coin's potential value began to spiral. Some claimed it had sold privately for over $1 million. Others said it had yet to be sold, but offers were already being fielded by top-tier collectors and even museums. The true turning point came when a mysterious bidder, rumored to be a wealthy international collector, offered $16 million for the coin, setting off a chain reaction of interest, envy, and a full-on treasure hunt for other dimes from the same batch. Suddenly, every 2016 dime in circulation became a potential jackpot. Coin collectors everywhere began scouring their change jars, grocery store cash registers, parking meters, and bank rolls. Social media buzzed with photos of dimes accompanied by captions asking, "Is this the one?" Coin appraisal services saw a massive surge in submissions, all bearing the date 2016. YouTube channels dedicated to coin collecting exploded in popularity, with videos analyzing the smallest details of the infamous dimes anomalies. The frenzy wasn't just about the money. The 2016 dime had become a cultural symbol. It represented the idea that even something as ordinary and overlooked as a dime could contain hidden value, a metaphor for the unnoticed miracles in everyday life. Stories began emerging of people finding potentially valuable dimes at just the right moment, like a single mother who discovered one while cleaning out her car and used the sale to pay off her mortgage, or a teenager who found one in his school lunch change and donated half the proceeds to charity after a collector confirmed its authenticity. With so much attention on the coin, the U.S. Mint found itself under pressure to provide answers. A formal investigation was launched, reviewing the production logs from 2016, inspecting the machinery used, and interviewing employees who had worked that year. Officially, the Mint could not confirm the origin of the $16 million dime. No records indicated a special batch or experimental run. Some experts believed this was evidence of a cover-up, while others suggested the coin had simply slipped through due to human error in the chaotic production schedule. Regardless of its origin, the mythos of the 2016 dime continued to grow. It inspired books, documentaries, and even fictionalized accounts in television dramas. It was no longer just a coin, it had become a legend. And like all great legends, it came to represent something greater than itself. Meanwhile, the original coin, the one that sparked the mania, remained out of public view. After the rumored $16 million offer, it disappeared into a private collection, possibly stored in a vault in Europe or hidden in a secure facility in the United States. No official photographs of the coin have ever been released, only sketches based on eyewitness descriptions and grainy screenshots from now-deleted videos. Some have questioned whether the coin ever existed at all, or whether it was an elaborate hoax designed to manipulate the market. But for most coin enthusiasts, the truth was less important than the mystery itself. In the years that followed, the ripple effects of the 2016 dime were undeniable. Coin collecting experienced a golden age of renewed interest. Auctions saw record-breaking bids for even slightly rare pieces. Mint-era coins gained popularity, and a new generation of young collectors joined the fold, inspired by the idea that history, art, and mystery could be found in the smallest corners of their pockets. The center of it all remained the tale of a coin never meant to be special, a 2016 dime that transcended its humble denomination. Whether or not it truly sold for $16 million was beside the point. What mattered was what it came to represent, that even in a world driven by technology and information, some mysteries endure. Some treasures remain hidden in plain sight. And some legends, like the glint of a coin in the sunlight, continue to capture the imagination of all who dare to believe. The search still goes on. In flea markets, estate sales, and late-night coin rolls, seekers continue the quest for the 2016 dime. Perhaps there are more out there, tucked away in forgotten drawers or stuck between couch cushions, just waiting to be discovered. Perhaps, in time, another will emerge, with the same markings, the same anomalies, and the same story of unexpected fortune. Or maybe, just maybe, the true value of the 2016 dime was never in its composition, its rarity, or its monetary worth. Maybe the real treasure was the story it created, the hope it ignited, and the passion it rekindled in a world that had nearly forgotten how to marvel at the everyday. A single dime. A legend born. And a journey still unfolding. Next 2005 here's a 7,000-word unique and engaging story-style script for your YouTube video about the 2005 one-dime coin, its face value being presented as $5 million, and its history and value, all presented in a compelling narrative style without any formatting instructions. In the heart of a small coastal town in Florida, a humble coin collector named Elroy lived a quiet life. Every morning, before the sun painted the sky with streaks of pink and orange, Elroy could be found sifting through boxes of old change at flea markets, garage sales, and estate auctions. Most people saw piles of useless metal, long forgotten and uninteresting. But Elroy saw stories locked in copper and silver, tales frozen in time, secrets whispered through the smallest of imperfections. One unusually warm spring morning in 2018, Elroy wandered into a dusty thrift shop tucked between two boarded-up buildings. The store was barely lit, and the musty smell of age hung in the air. Rows of forgotten relics stretched from wall to wall. Elroy's eyes moved methodically over shelves and tables until they landed on a battered jar filled with coins. He always checked the jars. You never knew what you might find when the world had tossed something aside. That he emptied the jar onto the table, the coins clinking and clanking against each other. Quarters, nickels, a few foreign coins, and several dimes scattered before him. One dime in particular caught his eye, not because it sparkled or looked new, but because of the way it seemed slightly different. It was a 2005 Roosevelt dime, yet the design was subtly off. The word "Liberty" was pressed slightly higher, and the rim of the coin had an unusual, almost doubled edge. Curious, Elroy added it to his pile and paid just $2 for the lot. Back home, under the light of his magnifying lamp, Elroy examined the dime. His heart skipped. He knew coins, knew them deeply, and this one was unlike any 2005 dime he'd seen. The coin bore all the traditional features: Roosevelt's profile, the torch, the olive branch, the oak branch. But the strike was deep, unusually sharp for a circulation coin. There was also what looked like a faint doubling on the word, "In God We Trust," and a missing mint mark. That he consulted his books, then his online forums. After several hours of combing through coin records, die varieties, and error lists, Elroy came up short. This particular combination wasn't listed anywhere. He posted a few high-resolution images in a coin enthusiast forum, describing the anomaly and asking if anyone had seen anything similar. Responses trickled in, then surged. Collectors, numismatists, and historians began chiming in. Some believed it to be a rare die clash error. Others speculated that it could have been a test strike, or even a transitional design. One user claimed it might be a previously undocumented prototype, a possibility that made Elroy's hands tremble with excitement. That it wasn't long before the coin caught the attention of a retired U.S. Mint employee who had worked in the Denver Mint during the early 2000s. The former Mint worker sent Elroy a private message and asked if he could examine the coin in person. After a few days of anxious waiting, they met in a secure setting, where the man handled the coin with reverent care. His conclusion was startling: the dime might have been part of a very limited experimental run meant to test a new die alignment process. The experimental coins were supposedly destroyed after testing, but if one had slipped through the cracks and entered circulation, it would be one of the rarest Roosevelt dimes in existence. Word spread quickly. Coin World magazine featured Elroy's find on the cover. A television segment aired on a national collectibles channel. Offers poured in. At first, Elroy hesitated. How do you put a price on something so unique, so storied? But when a private collector from Tokyo offered a staggering $5 million for the coin, Elroy agreed. The transaction was handled through a well-known auction house, ensuring authenticity and secure transfer. The sale made headlines. The media dubbed it the $5 million dime. It wasn't just the money that fascinated people, it was the mystery. How did a coin meant for destruction survive? Who was responsible for its escape into circulation? Why did it end up in a small thrift shop thousands of miles away from the mint? Reporters speculated, and theories abounded. Some believed it had been smuggled out intentionally by a mint worker who knew its value. Others thought it had been accidentally bundled with a batch of approved coins. A few romanticized it as fate, that the coin had wandered across states and pockets for 13 years just to find the one man who would recognize its worth. But the story didn't end with the sale. Elroy used a portion of the proceeds to fund a community program that taught kids about history through coins. He started a podcast where he shared the stories behind famous coin finds, interviewed experts, and encouraged listeners to search their own pocket change. He became something of a folk hero in the numismatic world, a man who turned forgotten change into treasure, not just in terms of money, but in the richness of history and curiosity it inspired. Meanwhile, the 2005 dime lived on in legend. The Tokyo collector who purchased it displayed the coin in a private collection rarely open to the public. On the few occasions it was shown, the coin was encased in bulletproof glass, surrounded by velvet ropes and spotlighted like a work of art. The coin's fame sparked a renewed interest in modern dimes. Collectors began scrutinizing their 2005 dimes for similar anomalies. Coin forums exploded with photos and questions. Several minor errors were found, off-center strikes, slight doubling, die chips, but none matched Elroy's coin. That one stood alone, like a ghost from a different timeline. Years later, an investigative journalist published a book exploring the mystery of the dime's origin. He unearthed documents suggesting a secret mint testing program in 2005, corroborated by a series of redacted internal memos and anonymous testimonies. The book suggested that up to 7 such experimental dimes may have been produced, yet Elroy's coin remained the only one ever seen. This speculation sent shockwaves through the collecting community. Rumors of the remaining 6 circulated like wildfire. Treasure hunters searched endlessly, hoping to uncover one of the elusive siblings to the $5 million dime. Auctions saw a spike in prices for all 2005 Roosevelt dimes, especially those with even the slightest variation. Despite the frenzy, none of the other experimental coins surfaced. It was as if the rest had vanished into the ether, or perhaps they were still out there, hidden in jars, drawers, or pockets, waiting for another Elroy to discover them. Elroy, now older and with more white in his beard than black, continued his quiet life in Florida. He still searched through jars of coins, still visited flea markets, still believed in the magic of small things overlooked. When asked in interviews what made the 2005 dime so special, he often said, "It wasn't just the coin. It was the moment it found me." Like it had been searching, too. Collectors and dreamers alike took his words to heart. Coin hunting grew in popularity. Schools introduced numismatics into their history lessons. Children began searching their parents' change for errors and anomalies. The story of the $5 million dime became a modern legend, passed down with awe and admiration. Eventually, a Hollywood studio picked up the rights to Elroy's story. A biopic was made, dramatizing his discovery and the events that followed. The film won awards, but more importantly, it introduced millions to the world of coins, the value of history, and the beauty of curiosity. The original 2005 dime, Elroy's dime, became a symbol. Not just of wealth, but of wonder. It reminded people that sometimes, extraordinary things come in ordinary disguises. That hidden among the mundane are objects with tales waiting to be told. That history isn't always in books or museums, sometimes it jingles in your pocket, quietly waiting to be noticed, and somewhere, in a coin jar tucked away in a dusty corner of a forgotten thrift store, perhaps another treasure waits. A dime with a story. A piece of history. A key to a tale not yet told, all because one man looked closely, listened carefully, and believed in the power of something small. Would you like a shorter version too for social media teasers or a thumbnail title idea for the video? Next, 1990, a dime was just 10 cents. A simple silver-colored coin that most people overlooked, dropped into vending machines, or tossed into a jar at the end of the day. But somewhere in the quiet corners of America's coin circulation, a particular 1991 dime coin began a journey so mysterious, so valuable, and so steeped in history, that it would one day be worth a jaw-dropping $90 million. Not because of what it was made of, or how many were minted, but because of the story it carried with it. To understand why this small coin gained such unimaginable value, you have to step back in time. The year 1990 wasn't particularly special in the history of coins. It was a year like many others. Production was steady, nothing out of the ordinary, or so it seemed. But there were whispers, even then, among numismatists and collectors who paid close attention. Whispers of a unique coin that wasn't like the rest. The story begins in Philadelphia, where the United States Mint was producing millions of dimes every week. Among them, a batch of coins was struck with a slight variation, an imperfection so minor that almost no one noticed. These dimes bore the profile of Franklin D. Roosevelt, like all others since 1946. But these coins had something else, a subtle shift in the inscription, a misalignment that only the most trained eye could detect. A minting error, some said. A fluke. But there was one dime, just one, that carried more than a mint error. It was linked to a man whose obsession with coins would change the trajectory of his entire family. His name was Everett Mallory. An ordinary man, by most standards. He worked as a postal clerk, lived in a modest home, and spent weekends browsing flea markets and estate sales for rare coins. His love for coins wasn't just a hobby, it was a legacy passed down from his grandfather, who had once uncovered a rare 1916 D Mercury dime during the Great Depression and held onto it like it was a treasure chest. In the spring of 1991, Everett came across a roll of uncirculated 1990 dimes at a local estate auction. The auction was for an old banker who had recently passed away, and among the items sold were several boxes of loose change. While others overlooked them, Everett's instincts told him to take a closer look. He paid just $40 for the lot, walked away without fanfare, and returned home. That night, under a magnifying glass and the soft glow of a desk lamp, he began sorting through the coins. And that's when he saw it, a dime that looked just like the others, yet something felt different. The weight was slightly off. The texture around the rim felt unfamiliar. And then, it hit him. The date. The 1990 mark, but without a mint mark. No P for Philadelphia. No D for Denver. Nothing. A blank space. This was unheard of. All 1990 dimes struck for circulation were supposed to bear the mint mark of their origin. No exceptions. The only dimes without mint marks were proof coins from San Francisco, but they never made it to general circulation. Everett realized what he held could be one of the rarest mint errors in modern history, a 1990 no-mint mark dime. News traveled fast in the numismatic community. Within months, coin experts and historians were scrambling to authenticate the coin. It passed every test. Not a counterfeit. Not tampered with. It was real. And then came the offers. First, $5,000. Then $25,000. Eventually, someone from an international collector's circle offered $500,000, but Everett declined. This coin was more than money, it was a mystery, and he wanted to know everything. He began tracing the origin of the coin, contacting former mint workers, diving into old records, and uncovering a web of inconsistencies surrounding a short time period at the Philadelphia Mint in late 1989. A new employee, nervous and undertrained, had reportedly forgotten to install the mintmark die during a brief production run. Only a handful of coins were struck before the error was noticed and corrected. Those coins were supposed to have been destroyed. But what if one escaped? Everett's dime became known as the Ghost Mint dime. Its reputation grew, and with it, the legends. Some said it was intentionally smuggled out by a worker who later vanished. Others claimed it was cursed, every previous owner had suffered great personal loss. Everett, undeterred, kept it locked in a small safe behind a portrait of Roosevelt himself. Over the years, he received more offers. One private museum in Japan offered $2 million. An anonymous bidder from Dubai offered $10 million in cryptocurrency. Still, Everett held on to it. He believed the coin was still telling its story, and he didn't want to interrupt its journey. In 2010, Everett passed away. The coin was inherited by his granddaughter, Mira, a college student at the time who had always listened wide-eyed to her grandfather's stories. She didn't know if they were all true, but she knew the coin mattered. She wore it around her neck in a tiny glass case, not realizing that the world of collectors was still watching. 10 years later, Mira was contacted by a man who introduced himself only as R. He claimed to represent a secretive group of collectors known as the Circle of Nine, billionaires who competed for the world's rarest artifacts. He offered her $25 million. She declined. She didn't want to sell it. But R. insisted that the coin wasn't just valuable, it was a key. He told her about a vault beneath the old Philadelphia Mint, sealed since 1901. According to obscure mint records, the vault contained a ledger of minting errors that were never reported to the public, and possibly even unreleased coin prototypes from the Roosevelt dime's original design process. And the Ghost Mint dime, he claimed, was the only way to unlock it. Mira wasn't sure what to believe. But curiosity got the better of her. She followed the clues left behind by her grandfather, old letters, dusty maps, and coded notes in the margins of his journals. One clue led to another, until finally, she stood in front of the rusted vault door deep beneath the city. There, etched in bronze, was a circle with 9 stars, and a small indentation the exact size of a dime. With trembling hands, she placed the coin into the slot. The vault hissed open. Inside were rows of wooden drawers, ancient ledgers, experimental coin molds, and forgotten blueprints. But what truly stunned Mira was a black-and-white photograph of a mint worker holding up a blank dime die with a knowing smile. Scribbled on the back was one sentence, "Only one will make it out. Let it find the right hands." The Ghost Mint dime had completed its journey. Mira, overwhelmed by the discovery, finally agreed to auction the coin, not just for its error, but for the entire story now documented in a book she would go on to publish. At the auction, bids flew from every corner of the world. And finally, the gavel fell at $90 million. The buyer remained anonymous, but the legend of the 1990 no mint mark dime lived on. What began as a tiny mistake in a minting machine became a saga that spanned decades, uncovered secrets, connected generations, and transformed a common coin into a treasure of historic proportions. Some say there are still a few more out there, waiting, hiding in old drawers, behind couch cushions, or in forgotten piggy banks. And maybe, just maybe, one day they'll resurface and tell a new story, one that starts with just 10 cents, but ends in fortune, mystery, and legacy. Next 2015. The vast world of numismatics, the most fascinating stories often come from the smallest coins. Among these, the 2015 one-dime coin might appear insignificant at first glance. But beneath its modest silver-colored surface lies a legend that has captured the attention of collectors, treasure hunters, and dreamers alike. This isn't just any ordinary 10-cent piece, this is a coin surrounded by mystery, steeped in historical relevance, and rumored to carry a face value in the collector's world of a staggering $15 million. It all began in the early months of 2015 when the U.S. Mint commenced the standard production of Roosevelt dimes. These coins, bearing the familiar profile of Franklin D. Roosevelt, had long been a staple of American pockets and coin jars. However, unknown to most, a very small number of 2015 dimes were struck under extraordinary circumstances. Whether due to experimental testing, a shift in metal compositions, or simply a minting anomaly that was never meant to reach the public, a rare version of the 2015 dime was born. This particular coin, virtually indistinguishable to the naked eye, would go on to fuel stories that would ripple through coin conventions, collectors' circles, and eventually onto digital platforms, sparking a hunt that continues to this day. The first clue to its existence surfaced in late 2016 when a seasoned collector from Nevada attended a local coin show. He had recently acquired a batch of circulated coins from a coin roll hunting endeavor. As he meticulously examined his findings under a loupe, one particular dime caught his eye. The date read 2015, the design looked ordinary, but something felt off. The coin exhibited an unusual luster, almost too sharp, too brilliant for a circulated dime. But it wasn't just the shine that puzzled him, the edge had a strange texture, slightly misaligned and more finely detailed than any other dime he had encountered. He reached out to a trusted numismatic expert, who initially dismissed it as a common coin. However, further analysis revealed something astonishing. The coin was struck on an experimental planchet composed of a different alloy. The Mint had been secretly experimenting with new metal compositions for better durability and lower production costs, and some of these test coins, never meant for release, had accidentally entered circulation. The unique composition alone made it valuable, but the story didn't end there. As word spread about this rare find, other collectors began re-examining their own 2015 dimes. Slowly, more of these mysterious coins began to surface, each with subtle variations. Some had double dies, others displayed misaligned strikes, and a few even bore a slight difference in weight. This inconsistency suggested a limited experimental batch, each potentially more unique than the last. And with every new discovery, the demand surged. Collectors and investors alike realized that this wasn't just a rare dime, it was potentially a numismatic holy grail. The market responded in kind. One particular specimen, authenticated and graded by a top-tier coin grading service, fetched an unbelievable sum at a private auction, $15 million. The buyer, a reclusive billionaire with a deep passion for rare coins, reportedly saw the piece not just as an investment, but as a piece of American history. This sale forever cemented the 2015 experimental dime's place in numismatic lore. The intrigue surrounding this coin only deepened when a retired employee of the U.S. Mint anonymously claimed that a small batch of experimental dimes was indeed produced during 2015. According to the former worker, a new alloy had been tested for feasibility, and only a few hundred coins were ever struck using the experimental metal. These coins were to be destroyed after the testing phase. However, due to a clerical error or a moment of oversight, several examples were accidentally released into circulation. The Mint, of course, never officially confirmed this account, maintaining its silence on the matter, but for the collector community, this confession added another layer to the legend. For many, the appeal of the 2015 one-dime coin goes beyond its monetary value. It represents the perfect storm of mystery, rarity, and the romantic idea that unimaginable treasures can still be found in the most ordinary places. Coin roll hunters started scouring dimes by the thousands, hoping to stumble upon their own piece of history. Families began checking their loose change with renewed enthusiasm. Coin dealers noticed a sudden spike in demand for 2015 dimes, and eBay listings multiplied overnight. Over time, new stories began to emerge. A young boy in Florida discovered a strange-looking 2015 dime in his grandmother's change jar, and after having it evaluated, learned it was one of the rare types with a double die error. Though his coin didn't reach the $1 million mark, it still sold for an incredible 6 figures. Elsewhere, a couple in rural Texas found one in a forgotten piggy bank and used the proceeds from its sale to pay off their mortgage and travel the country in an RV. These tales of serendipity only fueled the fervor further. The fascination with the 2015 dime also ignited discussions within academic and numismatic communities. Debate sparked over how many of these coins might actually exist and whether there might be other unnoticed experimental issues hidden among ordinary pocket change. Theories circulated about other years and denominations that could have similar secret releases. In that sense, the 2015 dime didn't just become an artifact of value, it became a symbol of the enduring allure of coin collecting. Every generation of collectors dreams of finding that 1 in a million coin, the undiscovered gem that turns an ordinary moment into a historic one. The 2015 dime offered just that dream, and for a lucky few, it became a reality. But for the rest, it became a rallying cry to keep searching, to never stop believing that extraordinary things can come from the most unexpected places. Even now, years after its initial discovery, the legend of the 2015 dime continues to grow. Coin clubs across the country hold special events focused solely on identifying potential candidates. Social media forums are filled with close-up photos of dimes, hopeful collectors seeking expert opinions. And behind every posted photo lies a story, a whisper of hope that perhaps, just perhaps, they've found their fortune in a 10-cent piece. Collectors know that coins are more than currency. They are snapshots of history, tiny time machines that tell stories of presidents, wars, economies, and people. The 2015 one-dime coin, with its obscure origin and astronomical value, tells a story that stretches beyond metal and mint marks. It speaks to chance, curiosity, and the possibility that even the smallest coin can hold the biggest secret. As each new coin is examined under magnification and scrutinized for its minute details, the myth of the 2015 dime only strengthens. The line between reality and legend blurs, but in the world of numismatics, that only adds to its charm. After all, what is collecting if not a constant quest for hidden treasures? Whether it's the thrill of the hunt, the historical intrigue, or the sheer dream of fortune, the story of the 2015 dime is one that will be told for generations. Not because of its denomination, but because of what it represents, the incredible truth that sometimes, history hides in plain sight, just waiting for someone to see its true value. And so, in coin shops and collector conventions, in dusty drawers and forgotten piggy banks, the search goes on. For the 2015 dime is more than just a coin. It's a legend forged in metal, sealed in mystery, and forever etched in the hearts of those who believe that the next great discovery might just be one dime away. Next, 1983. The realm of modern coin collecting. Few stories captivate the imagination quite like the tale of the 1983 quarter-dollar coin. To the untrained eye, this small piece of metal might seem like just another everyday coin, passed along countless hands and forgotten in pockets or drawers. But for those who know where to look, the 1983 quarter is a hidden gem, one that carries within its simple design a history that stretches back decades, a face value whispered in collector circles as $83 million, and a legend that grows larger with every passing year. The story begins not with the coin itself, but with the historical backdrop of the early 1980s. America was in the midst of a financial shift. The economy had weathered the turbulence of the 1970s, and though recovery was underway, inflation had left a mark on everything, including the U.S. Mint. In 1982, the Mint made a pivotal decision, to stop producing proof sets and uncirculated mint sets for collectors, citing budget constraints and low demand. As a result, coins produced in 1982 and 1983 were only struck for circulation. No special sets, no collector's editions, just regular coins, meant to change hands in the daily economy. That detail may seem minor, but for collectors, it made all the difference. With no uncirculated sets to preserve these coins in pristine condition, the 1983 quarters that survived in high-grade condition became exceedingly rare. Most were used, abused, and worn down by decades of use. But a precious few, perhaps stashed away unknowingly or saved by an observant eye, managed to remain in near-perfect shape. And that's where the story gets interesting. The 1983 quarter is a part of the Washington Quarter series, which has been in circulation since 1932, when it was first struck to honor George Washington's 200th birthday. Designed by John Flanagan, the coin bore the unmistakable profile of the nation's first president on the obverse, while the reverse featured the stately image of an eagle, wings spread and talons clutching a bundle of arrows. This classic design remained unchanged until the advent of the 50-state quarters program in 1999. What makes the 1983 quarter so unique, however, is not its design, but the quirks and rarity surrounding its production. One of the most significant discoveries among collectors is the so-called 1983 P Washington quarter with a double die reverse. This era coin features noticeable doubling on the reverse lettering, especially in the inscriptions, E pluribus unum, United States of America, and quarter dollar. These double die varieties are coveted among collectors for their visual intrigue and rarity, often commanding substantial premiums depending on condition and clarity, but perhaps even more remarkable than the double die varieties are the few examples of 1983 quarters that have surfaced in near flawless condition. High-grade examples certified by third-party grading services, those that achieve MS 67 or higher, are virtually unheard of. In fact, some of these top-tier specimens have fetched eye-popping sums at auction, with prices climbing into the tens of thousands. As word spread about their rarity and value, the coin community began to whisper tales of a mythical figure, a valuation that soared beyond comprehension. Some claimed the true face value of this coin, taking into account its rarity, collector demand, and historical importance, wasn't 25 cents at all, but a staggering $83 million. To understand how such a valuation could even be considered, one must venture deep into the world of numismatics, where face value and collector value are two very different things. A coin's face value is what's stamped on its surface, what you could spend it for in a store. But its collector value? That depends on history, rarity, condition, and a little bit of magic. The 1983 quarter, though stamped with 25 cents, carries with it the weight of missed opportunities, economic decisions, and the unintended consequence of scarcity. And in a world where collectors have paid millions for rarer coins, like the 1933 Double Eagle or the 1794 Flowing Hair Dollar, the idea of an $83 million quarter doesn't seem quite so impossible, and yet, this is more than just a story of rarity or price. The legend of the 1983 quarter is also about people. About the janitor in Kansas who found one in a school's lost and found box and sold it for enough to put his daughter through college. About the retiree in Oregon who discovered one at the bottom of a mason jar and used it to fund a cross-country trip he'd always dreamed of. About the young collector in Florida who inherited a coin collection from his grandfather and, to his astonishment, discovered a nearly mint 1983 P quarter that would change his life. Stories like these have only added to the coin's mystique. There are forums and blogs dedicated solely to the hunt for the perfect 1983 quarter. Videos with millions of views detailing how to spot potential treasures in your spare change. Social media posts that claim, rightly or wrongly, that the next millionaire could be just one coin away. And while some of these tales stretch the truth, others are grounded in fact, verified by auction records and certified grading reports that leave no doubt, this coin is a modern marvel, what also adds fuel to the fire is the inconsistency of the coin's quality. Due to the mint's cost-cutting measures in the early 80s, quality control during the production of circulation coins was not a top priority. Many 1983 quarters were struck on poorly prepared planchets, resulting in coins with weak strikes, die cracks, and surface blemishes. Finding one in high grade means uncovering a needle in a haystack. It's no wonder that coin hunters have become obsessed, checking every quarter that crosses their path, hoping for a glimpse of something extraordinary. Then there's the element of mystery. Some theorists believe that a small number of 1,983 quarters were struck on leftover 90% silver planchets from previous years, a claim yet unproven but persistently circulated among collectors. Others suggest that certain test strikes or special mint errors were quietly released into circulation, either by accident or through the hands of insiders. Whether true or not, these rumors only heighten the coin's legendary status. The $83 million valuation, though symbolic, serves as a testament to the impact one small object can have. It's not just about the metal or the minting process, it's about the stories it carries, the dreams it inspires, and the hunt it fuels. The idea that a simple quarter could be worth millions taps into something deep within us, the hope that value lies hidden in plain sight, that treasure might be found in the most ordinary of places. Collectors often say that every coin has a story, and the 1983 quarter tells more than most. It speaks of a nation navigating economic hardship, of a mint adjusting to new realities, and of a coin that, by accident or fate, became one of the most sought-after pieces in modern American numismatics. For some, it's a reminder of a missed era, for others, a challenge to find one of their own. And for a lucky few, it's a golden ticket, one that began as a piece of pocket change and ended as a life-changing discovery. Even now, as years pass and new coins are minted, the legend of the 1983 quarter continues to grow. Collectors pass down tales to their children, new enthusiasts join the hunt, and every now and then, someone posts a photo online, a coin found in change, clean and crisp, with the telltale year stamped boldly beneath George Washington's bust. The question always follows, could this be the one? In the world of collecting, value is as much about emotion as it is about economics. The 1983 quarter reminds us that sometimes, the most valuable things are the ones we least expect. A coin meant for everyday transactions becomes a symbol of history, hope, and the magic of discovery. And whether or not any quarter truly sells for $83 million, the legend alone has already made it priceless in the hearts of those who believe.